Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our City Council meeting. Today is Monday, August 2nd, 2021. It's approximately 1 p.m. Before we have our Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask if you please rise for a brief moment of silence. We lost a gentleman who worked for the City of Las Cruces by the name of Bob Hartwig. He was in our IT department. So if you please join me in a moment of silence. Councilor Bencomo, would you join me in the pledge, please? Thank you. And also, we want to also keep our thoughts with our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces as we protect our interests around the globe, as well as the courageous men and women of Las Cruces Police Department, Las Cruces Fire Department, as they keep our city safe 24/7, 365. So thank you for that. Okay, we're going to start with our pet of the week, and I believe Clint Thacker is going to introduce, is it one dog and one cat, or show equality there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, one dog and one cat. Clint Thacker, Executive Director of the Animal Service Center, Mesilla Valley. So Trent is a large breed, a goofy ball of energy, love to be outside, want to be on leash, and toys outside. So Trent is our dog of the week, up for adoption. And James is our sleek mini panther in a room full of other cats. I'll be the first to introduce themselves to you. Loves to brush over your legs. James is available for adoption, neutered male, 2 years old. Again, we're currently accepting all applications for adoptions and also for volunteers. And we have a drive-through vaccine clinic coming up on August 22nd, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Field of Dreams. All vaccines and rabies and microchips are $10 each. And it's a drive-through, so you stay in your car with your pets. And it's always a great success whenever we have one. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Clint. Okay, now we're going to go to our jobs of the week, and I believe either Cindy Quinlan or Dr. Francisco Payales.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy Quillen, and I'm the Assistant One-Stop Operator for the New Mexico Workforce Centers here in our Southwest region. And these are our jobs of the week. First, we have an accountant position open with our City of Las Cruces. This position will be closing on August 17th of 2021. Next, there's a Class A CDL driver for mobile homes with the employer No Limit Mobile Homes. There are 2 positions available, and these positions will close on August the 25th of 2021. Next, we also have an Assistant General Manager position with Sushi Freak. There are 2 positions available. These positions will close on August the 26th of 2021. Next, there is a sorter position with Barker Management, LLC. I do believe that these positions is for onion sorters. There are 10 positions available, and these positions will close on August the 20th, 2021. And there's also a facilities coordinator position open with Jones Ling LaSalle. This position closes on October the 20th and 2021. We also wanted to let you know that we will be having an in-person job fair at our Las Cruces Convention Center. This will be held on Friday, August the 13th, 2021 at 10 a.m. For information on how you can register, how employers can register for this event, and for a full list of our other jobs that we have available, internships and volunteer opportunities, you can visit us at www.employnm.com, or you can visit us at www.governmentjobs.com/careers/Las Cruces. For our local New Mexico Workforce Connections office, we are located at 226 South Alameda Boulevard, and our phone number is 575-524-6250. Thank you so much, and have a great week.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, good. This is on. All right, so thank you very much for that. And now we're going to go ahead and move to the recognition. I want to start with some of our businesses that are here with us today. As you know, we're trying to get over the coronavirus, COVID-19, but of course with that variant is kind of spiking. But nonetheless, in 2020, we had 9 businesses who allowed us our task force and to help set up and register for those residents who need information about the COVID-19 vaccination and some other information, and they touched over 1,000 residents. And so with us today, I'd like to call here so we can give you it's called the Mayor's Citation for Community Service. So if Ida Delgado, the store manager from Walmart Neighborhood Market, are you here? Ida, if you just join us here. Andres Gutierrez, Operations Manager also. Okay, Andres. And Joel Quesada from Lowe's Fiesta Foods. How about Rudy Garcia, Store Manager from Lowe's on Missouri Street? Not yet. Bob Barr from the Toucan Market. Tiffany Thompson, Manager of the Farmers Market. And David Wilson, Store Manager of Home Depot. And Sylvia Terrazas, owner of La Reina Michoacana, Inc.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, good. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for what you've done, and thank you for allowing our task force to utilize your business to help save lives and register people. So thank you very much. Councilor, why don't we have someone from staff, if they could take a picture? Yeah, so you can be in the picture as well. Barbara, can you do that? And if any of you wanted to say a couple words, you're welcome. All right. Okay, and so now we also have another recognition. Now, I don't know if you saw the Olympics last night, but El Paso is bragging about, and rightfully so, they have someone who was born in El Paso, but wasn't representing the United States, was representing Italy, and is now dubbed the world's fastest human. But so they have a man, so they have something that they can claim from El Paso, but that doesn't even come close to our Las Cruces Boom, who are the U14 softball national champions. And so they played the national championship in Plano, Texas on Thursday, July 15th to Sunday, July 18th. And Mario texted me on July 18th, and immediately after the game. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Mario. And they won. And this was really huge. I mean, to have national champions here, there were 32 teams in the division. They went 1 and 2 in Pool H. Coach plays everyone in the pool, and you get seated in the bracket play depending on your pool outcome. Boom beat Kansas Select from Wichita, Kansas, which was a 5-1, and then they lost to Batter Box Futures from Amarillo, Texas 7-3, and Firecrackers WTX from Palomo from Lubbock, Texas 3-1, and then began the bracket play. They beat the Athletics, Gendro Boney from Bentonville, Arkansas, 8-5 in extra innings. The Texas Bombers From San Antonio, 2-1. The Stars Elite from Lubbock, 11-2. And the Heat, 14, Van Zant from Newton, Kansas, also from Wichita, 14-2. Oklahoma Heat from Edmond, Oklahoma, 11-4. And then they beat Oklahoma Heat again, 6-5. So that was a nail biter. But you guys did it. So Zaisha Hawkins was the offensive MVP, most valuable player for the tournament, and Angelina Ramirez was the pitcher of the tournament as well as the overall MVP. So we have these Mayor Citation for Community Service. So Councilor Bencomo is going to give these to you. And so if you want to shout out their names?
Oh, sure. And come on up here, girls, and we'll take a picture. Riley Castillo. Amaris Diaz. No. Emma Enoch. Did I say that right, Emma? Yay. Angelina Garcia. Zaisha Hawkins. Leila Lazarin. Kylie Lopez. Nadia Martinez. Nadia Martinez. Nadia? Ari Mocia. Angelina Ramirez. Kaya Rentería. Esperanza Romero. Amanda Valles. Amado Garcia, our coach. Eddie Kreiner, a coach. Yes, bring that trophy, coach. And Ray Ramirez. Oh, I have one more. That's beautiful. I think that was Eddie. And Manny Renteria. Can I have you all switch it real? Yes, I'll read this while they're up here. We'll give these to you all. These are leftovers for people not here. And I have a proclamation to read as well. So do you want to take a picture and then I read it? Does that work, or do you want me to read it first? How about I just read it? Proclamation name. Las Cruces Boom 14U USSA Southern National Championships Day. Submitted by Aileen Garcia, submitted to the team Boom, August 2nd, 2021. Whereas Las Cruces Boom is a 14 and under girls fast pitch softball team from Las Cruces, New Mexico that consists of 13 dedicated, hardworking, and softball-loving girls, Angelina Garcia, Zaisha Hawkins, Nadia Martinez, Amaris Diaz, Riley Castillo, Amanda Valles, Leila Lazarin, Kaylee Lopez, Esperanza Romero, Angelina Ramirez, Adi Mocia, Kaya Renteria, and Emma Enoch. And whereas Las Cruces Boom softball team began 4 years ago in the 10 and under age group, and most of these girls have advanced together with the help and support of their loving families. And whereas Las Cruces Boom has never competed in a nationals tournament and traveled to the Dallas, Plano, Texas area to compete in the USSA Southern Nationals Tournament, which took place July 15th through July 18th, 2021. Whereas USSA Southern Nationals Tournament consisted of 32 teams from Southern United States, and whereas Las Cruces Boom was the only New Mexico team to represent the state of New Mexico, and whereas Las Cruces Boom struggled with their first game jitters at such a large event and placed fourth in pool play with the record 1-2 to determine bracket seeding. And whereas Las Cruces Boom settled in and went 6-0 undefeated in bracket play and faced many tough teams from Arkansas, Kansas City, Lubbock, Oklahoma, and San Antonio. And whereas on July 18th, 2021, Las Cruces Boom 14U girls fast-pitch softball team won the USSA Southern Nationals Championship and were awarded the tournament trophy. And whereas Las Cruces Boom has been consistently coached by our awesome, dedicated, and hardworking coaches, Edward Kreiner, Manny Renteria, Amado Garcia, and Ray Ramirez. And whereas Angelina Garcia was awarded Game MVP, Zaisha Hawkins was awarded Game MVP and Offensive MVP, and Angelina Ramirez was awarded Game MVP, Outstanding Pitcher MVP, and All-Tournament MVP for their outstanding performances. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim August 2nd, 2021 as Las Cruces Boom 14U USSA Southern National Championships Day. That was about to make me cry, girl. That's so amazing.
All right, so can't be any more proud of you all, and you get your own day today, so that's pretty cool. So thanks for representing us so well, and congratulations. I'm going to turn it over to Councilor Bencomo, who has another proclamation, and then we'll get going with the meeting. So thank you. Thank you, Councilor.
Thanks, Mayor. Next up, we have a proclamation for the Las Cruces Breastfeeding Month, awarded to Melissa Marie Bryce. Melissa, are you here? Come on down. There you go. You can stay up here, join us. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas human milk feeding is the biological norm for infant feeding and a proven primary prevention strategy that builds a foundation for lifelong health and wellness, and whereas all major medical authorities recommend exclusive human milk feeding for the first 6 months of life, with continued human milk feeding for at least 1 year. And whereas the consistent and well-documented health, economic, and environmental benefits of human milk feeding show that this is an investment that will continue to produce measurable dividends across the country and many times over for families, employers, and the government. And whereas there are substantial racial and ethnic disparities in access to location support resulting in reduced breastfeeding rates and an associated increase in rise for a variety of negative health outcomes. And whereas at the time of this proclamation, a recent Center for Disease Control and Prevention analysis of birth certificate data reports that among infants born in 2019, 86.1% of infants in New Mexico were breastfed, with 9.6 percentage points difference in breastfeeding rates between racial groups. And whereas National Breastfeeding Month and World Breastfeeding Week provide important opportunities to address barriers to human milk feeding, breastfeeding faced by families across the United States and around the world. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim the month of August as Breastfeeding Month and supports the goals of the National Breastfeeding Month, World Breastfeeding Week, Native Breastfeeding Week, Asian American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Breastfeeding Week, and Black Breastfeeding Week, and supports policies and funding to ensure that all lactating parents can access a full range of appropriate support from children and healthcare institutions, healthcare insurers, employers, researchers, and government entities. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Okay, now I'm going to go to the conflict of interest statement. This is where I'll ask if any member of City Council, City Manager, or City staff has any known conflict of interest on any item on the agenda.
None.
Okay, seeing none. Okay, now we're going to go to public participation. This is where we allow members of the public to speak before council unless it's on an item on the agenda. So I usually start on my left, and I will tell you that today will be the last time that it will be 7 minutes. From now on, from this point forward until further notice, starting our next council meeting, it'll be 3 minutes for public participation and then up to 4 minutes for any item on the agenda. You'll still get your 7 minutes, but it'll be broken down to 3 minutes in public participation and then up to 4 minutes on any item on the agenda, not to exceed twice during the council meeting after today. So you still have your 7 minutes. There are 2 people who asked for 10 minutes, which I will not be allowing. It'll still be 7 minutes. And those 2 people are, let's see, Tracy Hollister and Jeff Howie. So if either of you are here, I'm sorry, but it'll be 7 minutes. So I usually start on my left, and I usually start on the first row, and there's no one there, so first, second. Anyone on the third row? Fourth row? Fifth row? 6th row, staff, 7th row, 8th, last row looks like staff. So no one on my left. Okay, so I'm going to start on my right. First row's staff, second row. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Just need you to state your name and did you want me to use my timer or are you guys going to use your timer? So 7 minutes.
It says 5. I'll wait till you set it to 7, Ms. Vega. 7. Ms. Vega, it's 7. The clock says 4:49, so please restart it at 7 because he said I have 7 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, City Manager, members of the council, members of the public. My name is Tracy Hollister, and I'm here today in grief. I'm here in grief. I'm grieving for our country, I'm grieving for our state, and I'm grieving right here for Las Cruces. Earlier in this meeting, we pledged allegiance to the United States of America. There's a flag right there. The mayor wore a flag on his mask, but we're not acting American. We are not acting American. The U.S. Constitution guarantees us the First Amendment. I am here speaking on behalf of 15 people who were denied their right to public participation and access at this meeting. 15 people. Members of the public, if you don't know what's going on, the mayor, I believe, I've heard, but I haven't seen, has declared an emergency proclamation. He said in order to get into this meeting, you have to wear a mask or you have to be vaccinated. Literally, people were showing their papers on the way in. They were showing their papers. That's like Nazi Germany, and I'm not kidding. The problem is, it's not legal. The problem is, it violates the Civil Rights Act, Section 201, 202, and 203. I'm now going to read you that act. All persons shall be entitled to be free at any establishment or place from discrimination or segregation of any kind on the ground of race, color, religion, or national origin. No person shall withhold, deny, or attempt to withhold or deny or deprive or attempt to deprive any person any right or privilege secured by Section 201 or 208 or intimidate or threaten or coerce them. You have created a segregated meeting. There are 15 people who cannot get in here. I got in with a mask. However, There are people who were wanting to speak on the agenda that cannot because they will get dizzy, they will faint, they will get seizures if they wear a mask. Now, this statement the mayor has made, first of all, he declared an emergency. Last time I was here 2 weeks ago, I said there was 11 pages backing up the emergency proclamation and the resolution, which expired, I was informed, on July 23rd. 11 pages. Do you know how many sentences were devoted? How many sentences were devoted to an actual emergency data? We are free now here in Las Cruces. We don't even have a color coding system anymore. The mayor even said just now that we're getting over the coronavirus. We have, if vaccines work, we've never been more vaccinated in this county, in this city. The problem is the mayor and the council complicit are acting as medical doctors, and you're not qualified to do so. There are many other ways to be safe. I am a healthy individual. I am a healthy individual. This is my hydroxychloroquine. Others out there are taking ivermectin. Other people use homeopathic remedies. And people get T-tests to show their immunity. And if you've had COVID, you have natural immunity. So it is completely inappropriate to say, to advance the propaganda, and it is propaganda, sir, please. It is propaganda, that the only way to be safe is a mask. We presented data showing that masks are unhealthy. It's hard to breathe in a mask. Children on the softball team shouldn't be wearing masks. It's unethical. It's child abuse. So what are my solutions? Anytime anyone declares an emergency, they need to back it up with data. When we're reopening and the mayor declares an emergency, it's like crying wolf. And the more you cry wolf for a very prolonged emergency, which is supposed to be reserved for a very limited number of things, the less believable you are, the less credible you are. Now, I don't know about you, but I know several people who have been injured from the vaccines, and their hands are tingly, their feet are tingly. I know people with leg problems. I know a guy who had his sister died, dropped dead of a heart attack because the vaccines impact your blood. I have spent most of last week trying to help my vaccinated friends get healthier and research the things that you do, the pine needle tree, the ceremonien, the tea, all of these things. And I suspect that'll be in great demand. Mr. Mayor, I am still speaking. I'd appreciate your attention. What I ask is that you rescind the emergency proclamation. What I ask is that you have more allegiance to the United States of America and this flag than to the power that comes as an excuse with an emergency proclamation. I ask that in the name of free speech, which is being censored here today, hugely, illegally, in the name of free speech, that you have people open this space up as a free forum, bring vaccine-injured people, have them talk about what's helping them. Have people talk about ivermectin, ivermectin, ivermectin. By the way, the paper won't cover that. They won't cover that. So I ask you to be reasonable, to respect your fellow Americans, stop segregating, and please just have some respect for our great country. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the third row. Anyone on the fourth row? Fifth row? Oh, yes, sir. Just need you to state your name, please.
My name is Greg Fernandez. I am here because I want to talk about a project that is located on 649 May, which is a historic district. On November 2020, I called the codes because they were doing some demoing on this property, which they had took the roof off and left 3 self-standing walls up, and they had already demoed 3 existing walls. When I noticed that they were starting to build, they were gonna start building with new construction. And they had left the self-standing walls up with no braces and no fence barriers around the property. So then I talked to Code Officer Anaya, and when I spoke with him, he told me, well, I don't see no immediate danger. So it went as that, weeks went by. March 2021, I spoke with Troy Ainsworth and Tim Pitts about the project. And they met me at the site, and they were looking at the site, and then that's when they red tagged the site because there was no proper permits posted, and they were doing demo without permits. So then that stopped for weeks. And then on May 2021, the work started again, and I noticed that they were starting to scratch the floor where the footings were going to be at. So then I called the city because I wanted a building inspector to come to the site and meet me at the site, because I knew that they were going to be close to my property line. So when they started digging, actually the Inspector Manuel Ramirez showed up, and he started walking at the site, and he asked me if the survey was done, which there was no survey done prior to the work done. So then he asked me, did I get a survey done? And I said, well, I don't need one. I just don't understand why there wasn't a survey done before the work started. So I went on, and then he stopped the work for a while, right? And then weeks later, they started digging the footings, and I noticed that they were 18 inches away from my property line, which I'm thinking, we got a 5-foot setback on our new construction, not existing walls, but new construction. So it went on. I called. They said they were going to be looking into it. So then I called. I finally got a hold of Annette Granado, and she transferred me with Larry Nichols. And we spoke about the setbacks, and he said he would look into it. And at that time, they were 18 inches away from the property line. Okay, on July 10th, the survey was done. The results are now that the property line sits 7 inches from the new construction walls. And so I called in. I'm asking for some results and why they're only 7 inches from the property line and not 5 feet like it states as new construction. So the concrete is poured already, and I had spoke to people about this since last year. And now I'm seeing that the concrete's poured, the framing is started. I got 11-foot walls sitting right next to my property line, and I haven't gotten no answers of why they are so close to my property line, or why they're that close to it as it is. Where's that fire safety coming at? My 5 foot is gone. So that's why I'm here. And I've got some pictures here if you wanted to see where the property line sits.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fernandez. If you could leave them with the city clerk, and then I was going to give you my card. If you can either email me, and then I'll set up an appointment, and I'll go meet you at your place. But is this near I was just looking it up, is this near one of the cemeteries?
No. It's on the corner of Manzanita and May Street.
Okay, so it's East May?
Yes, East May.
Okay.
And it's sitting right there, right on the corner, 649 East May.
Okay, if you can leave that with the city clerk, and then I'll give you my card, and then if you have an email, or I can leave you my cell phone, and you can text me, and then we'll set up a time, and then I'll
All
meet
right.
you.
So you want me to get your card?
Yes, sir. Let me just give you this. But if you want to leave that information with the city clerk, and then she'll, yes, sir. Here's my cell phone. If you can text me for, or email me. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you for showing up. Okay, so that was the fourth row. Anyone in the fifth row? Sixth row? Seventh? Eighth? Anyone else on my right? Okay, very good. All right, we'll go ahead and get with the rest of the meeting. And that is, I've got a closed meeting statement I need to read. Las Cruces City Council made a closed session at 10:33 a.m., July 19th, 2021. Following members were in attendance: Councilors Flores, Sorg, Vasquez, Abeta Stuvi, Gandara, and myself, Ken Miyagishima. Councilor Bencomo came in at noon, and also at 11:45 a.m., Ifo Pili, City Manager. The meeting adjourned at 12:54 p.m., and for the record, Las Cruces City Council met and discussed those limited items as stated in the posted notice, which was to discuss the regularly scheduled quarterly performance evaluation of the city manager, which is closed pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H, number 2. Okay, now we're going to go to acceptance of the agenda. Need a motion, a second, please?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Vasquez. It's funny, when I look at you, it doesn't sounds different. It's, been moved in second.
Yeah, my voice is changing.
Yeah, okay. All right. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councilor Abeta Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to go to item 8.1, Resolution 22-012.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion
Is that better? Is that?
motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Vasquez. And Deputy Chief Brock will be presenting. Real funny.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, good afternoon. Deputy Chief Paul Brock, Las Cruces Police Department. Before you today is a resolution to approve or to establish a UTV user permit fee. This is the permit application fee. This is the last step in the UTV Ordinance that's been revised a few times. So I'll give you a little bit of a history as I go through this and talk about the proposed fee. So the original ordinance, 2915, was established March 20th. This allowed UTVs on city paved streets pursuant to New Mexico 66.3.1101C. It also repealed parts of the section and state statute which established prohibited areas that UTVs could be operated on. On June 1st, 2020, Council approved Ordinance 2930 for UTVs. This required a city permit to operate UTVs and also redefined and established prohibited areas for UTVs. This included sidewalks, bike trails, city parks, pedestrian trails, and other non-designated rights-of-way. On September 21st of 2020, Council approved Ordinance 2952 for UTVs. This eliminated pre-existing conflicts within the UTV Ordinance that precluded most UTVs regarding speed on city streets, or regarding the speed of UTVs, a maximum of 45 miles per hour, and the engine size, which precluded most of UTVs. So we're recommending at the police department a $15 permit application fee for UTVs to be operated on city streets. I base this fee amount on a average officer's salary, hourly rate, half hour. I estimate it'd take about a half hour to complete the UTV inspection, and then the cost of the sticker itself, which is minimal. Upon approval of the resolution, if approved by council, will provide updated information and education to the public as to the requirements for UTV inspections and permitting. We'll begin UTV inspections at the police department and then follow up with UTV ordinance enforcement requiring the UTV permit on city streets. These are your options today, and I'll stand for any questions.
Councilor Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Chief. I just have a question here on the calculation of the cost of the permit and how you expect that cost to be revised perhaps in the future and consideration of needs as the UTV population perhaps grows.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Vasquez, thank you for the question. The fee will have to be looked at again in the future for any anticipated costs. Any of the costs that, any of the revenue from the actual permit fee, we'll roll that back into the program itself for any needed supplies, more stickers, also education pamphlets, things of that nature to help educate the public, maybe public service announcement, that type of thing. But it will have to be reevaluated in the future to see if there's an increased cost.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. I appreciate that. Could you also just run down quickly the process for attaining the permit? Will this be done through, I understand, a physical inspection, and then will they have a sticker or some type of other decal that they would put on right after the permit? How would that work?
So included with your packet was a sample of the UTV sticker. We reached out to a local business. We explained to them that we needed a sticker, a certain size. We picked a size that matched the state sticker. We also wanted it to be reflective and also tamper resistant. So if somebody tries to peel it off, it basically disintegrates. So we got a cost estimate based upon that. As far as the actual application process would go, they would come to the police department or contact the police department. More than likely, an officer from the traffic section or a PSA will go out with we have a rough draft of a form that lists all the criteria based upon the ordinance that they will have to meet. These include the registered owner's name, address, phone number, their driver's license number, because they have to have a valid driver's license according to the ordinance, along with the VIN, make, muffler, headlights, mirrors, windshield, DOT-approved tires, headlights. I think that's what I was missing. So they'll come to the police department, complete the inspection, then they would proceed to City Hall to a cashier, where they'll pay for their fee and be issued a sticker.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Is there an estimate as to how many UTVs could be licensed in the first or second year and what revenue that would bring?
So when we looked at a budget amount, we kind of took a rough guess at it. We were thinking around 300, so we were estimating about 5,000, somewhere in that area, probably less.
Thank you. And then in terms of the education piece of this, right, the enforcement of the having the sticker, and I'm sure the public education that it takes to make sure that everyone is in compliance that owns this vehicle, what are the plans for that and how will that be funded?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Vasquez, so if the resolution is approved by council today, then we'll begin a educational public service announcements, social media. We can create pamphlets, start handing those out as well, trying to educate the public the best we can, and then we'll begin the UTV inspections as they come to us. If approved today by resolution, then anybody operating one on the city street, because we have not issued a permit yet, would be in violation.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief. And so what is that process like, let's say, the first 3 months, 6 months, a year, as you encounter UTVs without the stickers and giving a grace period perhaps until they have them? Is there directives from the department, obviously not to issue citations for a certain period of time, or what will that look like?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Vasquez, so we don't have a plan set in place yet, but we are very reasonable. I'm sure I can have that conversation with the chief of police, and we'd probably start off with more of an education enforcement program, if that kind of makes sense, and making sure the public is aware that they now are required to have the city UTV permit to be operating on city streets. And at that point, we could hand out the information, provide them with the information and the process for obtaining their UTV permit. And we can do that with warnings, both written or verbal, and begin an education program with a grace period so that the public becomes aware.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. For my personal opinion, I think it would be useful to have a set timeline so that folks understand that they do have 6 months perhaps to be in compliance, right? So that as you are giving warnings and as you are rolling out the public education campaign, that there's a set timeline for folks a reasonable timeline, right? Whether that's 3 months or 6 months, so that after that 6 month period that, you should know, especially if you're in the UTV community and you know that others have permits. That way that grace period doesn't just kind of extend perpetually, but that there's a set time under which, we have given enough time for people to comply with the sticker requirement. So that's just a suggestion from my end. I know that's administrative from your end, but I think that'll tend to help with accountability from folks in that community. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Thank you, Mayor. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councilor. And after Council speaks, I'll share with you some of the way the city has done it in the past when we've had to implement some things, but I think you're basically along the line there. Councilor Abate-Dastubi.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Chief. Councilor Vasquez asked some of the beginning questions that I had, but looking forward, when you evaluated the cost of labor, did you do exactly half for it? Okay. So thinking kind of long-term, obviously pays change, and so I would recommend us looking into a scale that is a little bit different. We're also going to have probably repairs on roads. I know I am getting some unfortunate individuals who are saying that there's a lot of trash or litter that are around some of these heavily used areas that might end up causing us to utilize city services a little bit more frequently. And so looking for the future with all of that, I would suggest a bit larger of a permit fee, even if it's to start out with like $25 instead of just the $15, to kind of give us a little bit of time to assess all those costs without running into too many significant issues. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before Councilor Sword?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Brock, for presenting here today. I appreciate it a lot. I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm not even in favor of this permit. I'm in favor of repealing the ordinance altogether. I've been getting constant complaints from residential people having these vehicles go through their neighborhood, loud.
Excuse me, Councilor, can you speak into the mic, please, a little bit? Bring it up a little bit closer.
Disturbing the peace, their peace. And therefore, I take it that these people that have these vehicles are just taking advantage of our goodwill to allow them to drive on our city streets. So I can't see supporting even having these vehicles on our city streets. And even if you do the permits, I don't know how our police department can enforce it. Because the police department can't enforce a lot of our laws that we have now. Noise ordinance, for example. So it's just something I think was just taken advantage of, like I said, and it's time to relook at this whole idea of UTVs in the street. I can hear them myself, and I know a lot of other people have been complaining to me. So once the police department gets fully staffed with all the officers that we need, that might be a different situation where it can be patrolled and enforced. But I don't see how this is going to even help our situation at all. So I'm just curious, if this passes and if a person got caught without a permit, what's the fine?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sorg, I believe municipal court would have to establish the fine amount because it is a city ordinance and it is brand new. I do not recall off the top of my head if the fine amount has been established yet.
It hasn't been established, okay.
Councilor, the
Thank you.
maximum,
That's all I have to say.
the maximum is $500 and 90 days in jail. That's the maximum. So anything from there below. Anyone else have any comments? Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, DC Brock. I appreciate the presentation. I have a tendency to agree with Councilor Sorg. I think I've received numerous complaints about noise and erratic driving, litter, and really noise most specifically is one of the bigger issues that I have received. So I think we were trying to do a good thing because we were hearing, Mayor, as you know, folks having a difficult time transporting the UTV to their destination, and I think we heard, the groups loud and clear, and I think we're wanting to be helpful, but then, I think, Mayor, you said it best when you said I think you said something along the lines of, I didn't know we had that many in our city. And so, I'm really, unless someone says something that's going to cause me to pause and really re-examine my thought process here, this has been a very difficult time frame. I think, unfortunately, those irresponsible UTV owners have really put the others that do follow the law and whatnot. This is something that I think we really need to consider. And I thought the $15 permit fee was rather low, DC Brock, and I wasn't sure if there was other comparisons that you were making with that, and I wondered if you could answer that question specifically, like what, I know that half of the salary of the officer and such, but where were you getting the amounts, and usually you're looking at other comparisons.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Gondara, so what I did when I was thinking of the amount is, of course, I consulted with some of my peers. I also looked at the state on-highway registration fee, and I'm looking for it. I have it in here somewhere. I believe it's $9. It's a minimal fee. I know that the off-road registration, which is a different sticker, it's for out in public lands, riding in the desert, that runs $50 a year. But the actual on-road sticker through the state, through DMV, is a minimal fee. It's either $7 or $9, I can't remember, but it's right in that area.
I see, thank you. Although I think some of these are being used on off-terrain, right? Why couldn't we look at a medium sort of amount there between the 9 and the 50? And again, if I hear from my colleagues, this a reason why we should move on this, I think we need to raise the fee. And now that I have some parameters, 9 to 50, I think it needs to be on the higher end of 50, frankly, because many of these all-terrain vehicles are being used outside of the city limits, if you will. They're according to them, using it to get to those areas, although I know many, in fact, one in my area where I live that uses it to just drive around in, frankly. So, and although they're very respectful as they're moving through the streets and such, but I'm really concerned, and I think we really need to think about this. I think we've had enough time to really assess this, and for me, I'm not sure that it's working. And I don't know that even a higher fee would get people to be a little more responsible. And I am concerned, knowing that our police department is limited in the number of officers to ensure that people are following the rules and such, that it puts a huge burden on our law enforcement. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Vasquez, and then Councilor Flores.
Mr. Mayor, may I go back to Councilor Gondota, just with some follow-up, Mayor Pro Tem? I did find the on-highway fee for the state is $7. When we were thinking about the fee and trying to come up with the fee, we weren't looking at making money for the city, trying to be fair, and that's how we estimate it based upon the officer's time involved with the inspection and the cost of the sticker, if that helps with following up with your questions.
It does. Thank you, DC Brock. I don't think we're here to make any money. We just want it to be fair, but I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Vasquez, and then Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Sorgan, Mayor Pro Tem, for your comments regarding the larger issue with UTVs. I think we have all collectively struggled with this as we get input from our residents about some of the negative impacts, whether it's noise or oftentimes erratic driving and that kind of thing. I've seen it myself. I know if you've been down to the river at any point during the summer, especially on those levee roads where there is no motorized vehicle access allowed, seeing dozens of UTVs there on a daily basis, clearly in violation of IBWC and EBID statute. It doesn't make you feel good about these folks being able to drive on city streets to get to these places, right? Because there's a certain amount of lawlessness that just seems to fly in the face of what we're trying to do to promote responsible use. I'm an avid user of public lands, all our BLM land around here, I almost know like the back of my hand. And so I know how many roads have been created illegally on BLM land by UTVs because they just decide that it's a shortcut or different path to get to wherever they want, or simply it's just fun, right? That's where these vehicles to a large degree were meant to do, to drive off-road. But it causes degradation of ecosystems and watersheds and arroyos and all kinds of stuff that is a much larger problem. And I acknowledge that. I also know that we live in a place that's surrounded by BLM public land where we do have designated areas for these vehicles to operate, places like the Doña Ana's, right, or the Red Sands area, or the Aden lava flow place where like we have designated places where people can go and use these vehicles. And so there's an industry, there's a business behind this, there's people who I feel use these vehicles responsibly, right? And I think to some degree we should embrace that because we are a community that has those places available to use these vehicles. So I'm going to throw this out there, and maybe this might not satisfy everybody, but I think folks should have to take a safety course or some type of etiquette course before getting their permit, right? To say, not just on city streets, but even when you are going to use these vehicles in the intended areas, things not to do, right? Like that you should know not to do, like not cutting illegal roads on public land, like picking up after yourself, leaving no trace when you're on public land, making sure if you're driving that you're not driving through neighborhoods at 1 a.m. with a very loud exhaust system. Some consideration so that there's an educational component to the permit requirement that has some accountability attached to it, so that folks can keep using these vehicles on city streets. And then that if there's a violation of any number of those things, that you have your permit revoked, right, for a certain amount of time, so that we can at least help to promote, be faithful in the folks who are using these vehicles for what they're supposed to be used for, but have an accountability measure for those who aren't. So that's what I would propose, and if we would need to come back at a later time to approve this permit so that it has the safety education attached to it, that may be an option for us to consider. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, what? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Vasquez. I don't disagree with the educational part, especially since people don't take driving tests of automobiles in the state of New Mexico. So it'd be wonderful to have the UTV drivers. But the part, I'm not entirely sure that the educational aspect would be implementable, or it would be a thing that could really, I mean, who would be doing the educating, would be, you know, who has, I mean, I guess it would be our city, our local ordinances that would impose that. The problem with any of, and I'm in agreement that there is definitely a problem with the UTV, and there's a lot of problems with ATVs too. I've seen those going down Lowman and blocking traffic between Lowman and Telshore. That starts right there, and very happily just riding along. But I'm not sure about the enforcement, because we have a shortage of police officers as it is. So who would be enforcing DC Brock?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, so patrol officers would be enforcing this just like they would any other type of traffic violation or other ordinance?
Do we have a shortage in that department, in that category of patrol officers? Do we have vacancies, do you know?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, yes, we do.
So perhaps we can fill some of those positions so that we can be sure that there can be enforcement of other violations on the road too. So I just had to give that pitch, because that's, you know, we want to do a lot for our city, but we're lacking the manpower, the person power, the human power. But
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, we're working on it. We're currently recruiting, and I believe the application process for the next academy ended last Friday. We're also in the process of hiring lateral officers. I don't know if Chief wants to speak more to it, but we are in the process of trying to get all our vacancies filled at the police department.
oh, great, and that's considered a lateral position? A patrol officer? Are there, I'm totally ignorant about the different classifications and whether each hire is designated to a certain classification.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, so a lateral officer is an officer that's already certified by the state, but he's going from one department to a different department. He doesn't have to re-attend a basic academy because he's already a certified peace officer in the state. A new recruit is someone from the public that's never been certified as an officer, and they have to attend a basic police academy in order to obtain that certification.
I see, so those laterals are possible to fill the vacancy?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, that is correct. Depends on the numbers that we get. I believe it's 2 that we have starting here next week or the following week, but that'll be 2 in addition to patrol. They'll go through a field training program to learn our policies and procedures, but for the most part, they already understand New Mexico law, procedures for arrests and citations, crowd control, everything that you can think of. So it's a very shortened field training program where they are immediately placed into the field.
Great, thank you, DC Brock. Police Chief Dominguez, did you want to add something to that? I saw you move towards that direction. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Police Chief Miguel Dominguez for the record. Mayor, Councilor Flores, Deputy Chief Brock pretty much covered what we're doing right now. We still are about 149 of a 202 authorized staff. By hiring lateral officers, we could supplement and bypass the academy portion of it, which is really extended. The academy class that we're hiring for right now is not going to be on the streets and possibly till about next April. So it's going to be a while. So we do need the lateral officers from other departments that are interested in coming to Las Cruces and working with our police department.
Yes, but then those departments, respectfully speaking, Chief Dominguez will be absent, will be vacant. I mean, so it's just a question, and I'm addressing at this point, at this time, because it is opportune that we do have a shortage. So moving, officers out of one position into another, a lateral, still leaves the existing vacancies. So I just hope that you're able to get to those hires. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Bencomo?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief and DC Brock. I have a couple questions. I will say, though, that I'm also sitting here with a lot of internal tension around moving forward on this, because I honestly do understand both sides. However, this enforcement piece is interesting, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but DC Brock, what do you think if this council moved towards repealing it, what would then enforcement begin to look like for the department?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, so if you rescind the ordinance and place a moratorium on it, then any UTVs on city streets would be illegal.
Causing a pretty significant stressor on the department, I'm assuming.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, no more stress than we're used to.
Sure.
I mean, we deal with traffic crashes and traffic citations, violations, and traffic law every day, so.
That makes sense. Thank you, DC Brock. And again, I don't want to operate out of any assumptions. I guess to me, just the enforcement piece would seem similar on both ends, right? Whether you're having to enforce UTVs having stickers or not, if they're registered or not, or on the other side, if we place a moratorium on the length it'll take for people to re-educate themselves on not being on the streets again. What do they say? 6 of one, half a dozen of the other?
Correct.
So back on this enforcement piece, I feel like for me, what I keep coming back to is the presentation you had here with us last time we talked about this in terms of the number of citations, how many less you have given since this ordinance. To me, that seems important, that there's a lot less people being cited. There's maybe a lot less of a backlog at Muni Court, which is where I assume people would go, right? If they were cited, they would go to Muni Court.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, that's correct. They would be cited into municipal court. I think it's important to remember that the original ordinance was passed about the same time that COVID hit. And if you remember from my prior presentation, I was kind of explaining how sales in UTVs, off-road vehicles, ATVs, dirt bikes, everything else, if you look at the power center, there's nothing there. There's like 2 in the front, and that's it. Not that he can't get more, but he's pretty much selling out of everything. I think during COVID, the public was looking for things to do because everything was shut down, and we saw the increase in the UTVs during that time. A little bit of a follow-up question to Councilor Vasquez's question regarding education. The state does require that anyone under the age of 18, in order to register an OHV vehicle, whether it's UTV, dirt bike, anyone under the age of 18, they have to complete a certified safety course through the state. So the city, if the city enacted their own course, it's kind of like a double whammy if you think about it, because they're already having to take it through the state in order to register their UTV, if they're under the age of 18.
I actually do have a point to make to that as well, and then I'll pass it back to Councilor Vasquez. What I understood, and again, Councilor Vasquez can speak for himself on this, but what I understood was not necessarily a safety course, but a community etiquette course. And I wonder actually if we go down this road, what would it look like to bring in a third party, perhaps one of these UTV organizations? I know there are this community is organized. I wonder what it would look like to bring a third party UTV organization that could do this etiquette piece, and then come back to the department to get their sticker and then, obviously follow the rules that you have laid forth. That's just sort of what I thought as Councilor Vasquez was speaking. I guess I'm just in favor of decriminalizing more things. But I will suggest this one last thing. In terms of the cost, I also thought it was really low. I was surprised it was this low, and I appreciate the sort of the foundation you set forth, why you picked that. I'm curious if you took into account how much of your time or the department's time has gone into getting to this point and setting up the system, and the cost it'll take to maintain it, not just on the spot doing the analysis of the vehicle. It just felt too low. I mean, I think car registration vehicles are, I don't remember how much I paid to register my car. That was such a long time ago. But I think they're higher than that, right? And if they're being treated like vehicles, I wonder if the cost can be compared to that.
Mr. Mayor, Council Bencomo, with a brand-new program like this at the police department, that's why we were kind of, we needed guidance from council in regards to the fee. This is just a proposed fee.
Okay, thank you, DC Brock. I also I agreed that it was too low, but I don't want to throw out any arbitrary number, so I appreciated the way that you laid it out. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Let me just say a couple words, and then I'll go for a second round here. First, I'm a little concerned that you said it's been a long time since you've paid for your registration, because they usually expire annually, so you may want to check.
Oh, no. No, but you know what? I think I paid for 2 years.
Oh, okay. You're the 2 years.
No, I drive a truck. I drive a silver truck.
Okay. Just a couple things. Let me just share this with you, and I can understand because I see the emails as well. The number one issue that I believe is the noise that they make. Really, when you get right down to it, almost all of them that I've received, it's all about noise. So, this is one thing that we can consider, is increasing the fee to $50, or if you can prove that you have a catalytic converter. Because if you recall, and I still remember when we had that work session at Lynn Middle School, and that's when we were enlightened that many of these UTVs, especially the new ones, have literally everything a car has, including the catalytic converter. And so I think where some of these UTVs that are really loud, they don't have that catalytic converter, and they sometimes probably don't even have a muffler. So this now, with the $50, or you prove that you have a catalytic converter, or you pay the $50, one or the other. And then, but see, by not having that sticker, then that allows, because there are a lot of vehicles that I've seen. I saw one the other day, it had no license plate. And so if the police can't see that sticker, I mean, they're going to pull you over. And I would advocate for the highest price ticket available, because this is one that isn't one that's used to go back and forth to their job. This is a recreational vehicle, but it happens to be street legal. So I would, and then if after that, and then keep in mind, we're still, I think EFO and his staff, we're still looking at that mobile vehicle that we could place outside of certain areas that would get the speeders, or in this case, the UTVs, that it would record it, and then we could find out who they were, I presume. So that's something there. And so, and then circling back to what Councilor Vasquez was saying, today's August 2nd, sure, it's a little bit past mid-year, but how we've done in the past when we've had to implement something was along the lines of what the councilor said is, so if we were to go from after today, if we were to pass this till December 31st, it's going to be nothing but public service announcements, letting people know that on January 3rd of 2022, tickets will be issued. But until that time, you have all this time to understand what it's required. We'll have PSAs on radio, on print, on mail-outs, on social media. They need to get this tag, and if they can prove a catalytic converter, which the new ones will have, then they can just pay the $15. Because what we want, really, like you said, not to make money. We want to have that balance between residents, and I agree. It was interesting how when we happened to pass this, we had no idea we were going to shut down, but this gave those that opportunity to, not necessarily just staying home. Can you imagine what could have happened if they just stayed home? And now they had the chance to at least go out in the areas. So that's my take. If you think that might work, and then if after all that and it still isn't working, then we may have to just totally repeal it, totally. But I think this gives, I think those that are, I don't know if they're watching today, but if they are, great, the opportunity to really, help us, help themselves, really, when you get right down to it. I mean, the other day, there was a kid on a, and it wasn't a kid, it was actually a young adult on a go-kart. I mean, it's almost like, did the word get out that everything is okay to drive on the street? It almost seems like. But if they don't have that sticker, they can get, they can get cited. And, yeah, I think we probably, that's just an idea. So if you think that might work, then we'll need an amendment to this. Councilor Sorg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate all the comments we're all making here. I appreciate it a lot. It is something that's not hard, but it's something that's touchy or so. I just had a couple questions I wanted to ask. Do these vehicles require a state license or a state permit of any kind?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sorg, thank you for the question. I wanted to follow up with council and just explain again that the owner of a UTV registers their UTV with the state, just like we all do for our own personal vehicles that we drive. Then, if they want to use the UTV on a paved roadway in a municipality like ours that has an ordinance that says they can, they have to purchase the $7 on-road sticker, which is in addition to the regular registration fee. And then, with our ordinance, they would come to the police department for this city permit.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Of some of the comments made here, I'd just like to emphasize a few things, a couple anyway. What Councilor Vasquez says about using these vehicles off-road in our environment here. This is a desert environment, we all know. A desert environment is very fragile. Driving these vehicles in our desert environment harms all kinds of things. So it's so important that these vehicles can only be used in certain areas so that the desert environment is not destroyed. And it is destroyed. It does not come back after it's been destroyed. For example, in 1848 and 1858 to 1860, 61, the stagecoach, what's the name of the stagecoach service that they did to California from St.
Butterfield.
Butterfield, yes, the Butterfield stagecoach. We still see their marks in the desert today, 150 years later. And so this is what I'm trying to get at. These vehicles should only be used in those designated areas that are given to them. And of course, we had, those who don't remember, it was not too long ago where we had the controversy over our public lands and use of vehicles off-road in our public lands when we were trying to get wilderness in our area here. I can imagine a lot of stimulus money went into purchasing these vehicles too. Just one more thing on the enforcement and the patrol officers. The lateral, surely that's a good way to beef up our own police force, but when somebody comes in from another department, maybe that department gets shorted or don't have as many police officers too. So it's good for us, but it may not be good for another department. They'll lose. But I just want to comment too, my patrol officer that was, I say mine, one that was patrolling District 5 told me that he had to stop patrolling my district because they needed people on call, need officers on call. So that's why I'm coming up with this shortage of the police to enforce whatever we do with the UTVs. So there again, I stand by the fact that I favor repealing the ordinance. And as far as what the mayor says, yeah, that's all good. I appreciate that. It's the muffler that is the culprit here. And they can make these vehicles so quiet, yet they don't want to be quiet. They want to make noise. So that's the problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Abeyta-Stube.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you. I was bringing up some of the other rules that we had agreed upon for the UTV ordinance. As you were talking, it was reminding me of all the other issues. And one of them was that the vehicle must have brakes, mirrors, and that non-modified muffler. And so I'm hopeful that if we do this type of permitting too, you'll be able to recognize and make sure that these UTVs are in compliance, which they may not be because there's been no real incentive to make sure that you're complying with all the items that we had. There's more about headlights, taillights. The one item that I have noticed, unfortunately, is passengers under 18 without a safety helmet on. So that's the one item that I think causes me concern that can't necessarily be permitted on place or checked in. So, but I think by having the permits, we'll be able to kind of check into all those items too and educate hopefully as well.
DC Brock, let me ask a quick question, Councilor. The police aides, what is their authority? I mean, I know that they can give a ticket for handicap, I think parking and handicap and fire zone. But is that it? Can they, is it, we couldn't designate, and then can't they do something if they're parked the wrong way on a city street? If they're parking opposite, no?
Mr. Mayor, so they enforce parking violations by ordinance, I believe. As far as, traffic enforcement out in the field, they're not a certified peace officer, so they can't.
Has that been pretty successful? I mean, could you use more if you were to have in the budget?
Mr. Mayor, my opinion, yes. More PSAs is better because we do have them doing several different things at the police department. They take non-injury accident reports out in the field, which frees up our other officers for more serious items.
What I was going to say was, in conjunction with what Councilor Sorg said, sometimes we get invited to the university and then they give us a temporary tag to go there, but they also are very good about showing us where we can park and where we can't park. And if we have something that shows, because I don't think we've ever have done that, where they can ride the UTVs and not, and then on the areas that they're not, and if we have to increase the budget a little bit and get you a few more PSAs, they can at least be there on the weekends, because that's usually when it happens, on the weekends at night. And then they could be out there helping monitor and then call into the police department that there are some UTVs that night. I mean, we can, if we really wanted to crack down on them, we could. But you need help, and we'll provide, I think we can provide that. Because the PSAs, they don't go to the academy, do they? How long does it take for them to get on board?
Mr. Mayor, they go through a PSA academy, which was developed by our Lieutenant Story, our director of the academy. So it's a shorter academy than a regular one. I believe it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so, but you could also shift some of the ones you currently have, and if we get you some new ones, or get you funded for new ones. I think if we're going to do it, we need to do that. We need to really make it so that they know where they can and can't ride, and that we'll put that in the PSAs as well, and then let them know that, on January 3rd, we're going to start giving the tickets, and then we're also going to monitor these areas. We're going to just crack down on it. And if after all that it still doesn't go away, then I think we probably need to repeal it. But we have Councilor Vasquez and Councilor Flores.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I saw Chief Dominguez stand up, so if you had. Okay, thank you, Chief. I mean, this is a tough one because I think we're at an inflection point, right, where we're either going to repeal the ordinance or we're going to add some additional measures that will help us live peacefully as a community with this existing ordinance. And so I want to support this with this community etiquette course component added into it, and it can very easily be done online. For those with a hunting or license that need to take a hunter safety course, for example, before you can go out and handle a firearm anywhere in the state, there's certain things that you have to learn about not just safety, but etiquette to other hunters, to be a certain away from a road, be a certain distance away from subdivisions and households, just basic things that takes you to operate and, you know, be in good standing with the state. So I think a community etiquette course requirement that you take online, right? There's plenty of software vendors out there that can put all the questions up there for you, that, you know, the permit fee can actually pay for the cost of that software vendor that says, you know, after 3 o'clock or after whatever time, you know, don't be, things that like would just signal what we would want you to do in the city if you are riding your UTV, to be a good neighbor. And so I feel like that is going to be more effective than a PSA, because not everyone's going to see the PSA, but every UTV rider that has to get licensed will have to take this course and will have to get this education, hopefully inside of them before they are able to be legally licensed. And so I think I would support an additional cost to the license if we could get a vendor that could put a community etiquette course up, so that people, again, the accountability factor, right? So they can't say, well, I didn't know I couldn't ride in the ditch. I didn't know I couldn't ride in the river bottom when it's dry. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to drive off-road. Yes, you do, because you took this community etiquette course, presumably before you got a permit for your UTV. So I think that's a happy medium. I understand some members of the council may not feel that way, but I think for me, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable that there's some accountability to this permit system, that we have an adequate fee structure that pays for it, and again, that when those violations do occur, that people can't say, you know, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that, or I didn't realize that, because you took a course that said, you know, what you should and shouldn't be doing. So I just want to throw that back out there. And regarding the 18 and under requirement, I mean, that's 18 and under, Deputy Chief, and I totally understand, but I think there's plenty of folks 18 and over that I think could benefit from that course, in my opinion. So I think it's something the city could implement, and it'd be as easy as printing out a certificate that says, I took this community etiquette course, bring it to you when they apply for a permit, or when they apply for a permit. So I just want to see if folks are on board with that potentially, and if we might even be able to make that an amendment to the existing ordinance for this permit with an increased fee as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Let me get with Councilor Flores. She has a comment, and then after everyone's done speaking, and if they will start taking amendments, if that's okay. Then you have your hand up, Councilor?
I was just wondering procedurally where we were going, and how we would make those amendments and pass them today.
Yeah, I was hoping that we would get, you know, after everyone has had a chance to kind of share their concerns, and then when everyone's done, then we'll ask for amendments. And
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilor Sword?
One more thing. Yeah, I agree with Councilor Vasquez. Yeah, I think we should have a program like that. That together with inspection of the vehicle itself to see if it has all the right stuff on it, including a very quiet muffler. And this is not unusual, Mr. Mayor, because in my work I've used not UTVs but ATVs a lot in even different jobs. But after doing it for, okay, I'll say 20 years, could have been more, I was required to take a course on how to drive an ATV. So this is nothing that is unusual or unreasonable to ask them to do, is to do a course like Councilor Vasquez was saying. I fully agree with that. Along with the inspection of the vehicle and having a good solid muffler on it.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I can agree with the etiquette/safety course and hiring a third party, and I would assume this third party would be responsible in developing a computer system that holds all the information. Councilor Vasquez, have you thought about, is this once a lifetime course or something that needs to be updated yearly? What are your thoughts about that? Mayor, if I can ask the question.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That's a good question, and I would defer to your opinion and others on how that should be handled. Perhaps a renewal period, maybe every, I don't know, 5 years or something like that would be useful. But I think at least for that first time that you're licensed and you have a sticker that you should be required to take this course, at least at the minimum.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Vasquez. I'm going back between having it yearly to maybe a couple or 3 years might be a good compromise. I would imagine that folks that are going to take this eagerly are responsible folks, right? Those that they have no problem, they're going to follow the rules, they do that anyway. But I think some of us could probably brush up on our traffic rules, right? As a driver, you're given a driver's license and then you're not having to take a course your entire adult life. So I would assume that having a refresher course might be a good idea. I think so. I'm for that. And Mayor, I like the idea of your idea of the $50, unless you can prove that you have a catalytic converter. I think that would help tremendously, and if not, then they would pay the $50. If you do have it, the $15 permit, I think, is an appropriate thing, and I'm willing to compromise in that area. And I like the PSAs. I think anything that we do, we have to have a robust educational campaign that is, that we put out in radio and TV, whatever other things that we can do, and probably that third party could assist us with that as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So just to reiterate, the catalytic converter, I believe, helps identify the age of the UTV, because there could be some that are homemade and they're not going to put a catalytic converter on it. So by having that, I think kind of reassures that this is probably not only street legal, but it has everything that we were looking for, that initially got us to nudged us to move in the direction to allow this to happen, because I think we were all surprised by these vehicles and what they come equipped with, and the various amenities that, from the catalytic converter to the muffler to all the lights, turn signals, everything, you name it. So, okay, well, with that, I'll start with Councilor Beta-Stuvey if she has any amendments that she'd like, because I know she had brought up about the amount, and
Mayor,
just kind of start from there.
I'd like to make an amendment to raise the fee to the $50.
Councilor, did you want to include $50, or if they could prove that they have a catalytic converter, then it stays at the $15, or how did you?
No, actually, because they'll still be required to take the tests, and we're still going to have to pay for those types of services. So I think it should be just a flat rate.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is a motion by Councilor Beta-Stuvey, second by Councilor Flores. Now we're here for discussion.
Yeah, just to ask clarification, raise it to $50, but also at the same time have a course on etiquette, et cetera, for it? Is that part of your motion?
So I think Mayor was asking for us to do these individually, so.
Okay, not all at once? We can't do it all at once?
Or we can.
You could,
do
but,
it.
I didn't.
Okay.
That way there.
Would you amend your amendment?
Mr. Mayor.
Just saving time, is all. Thank you. That's all right.
Okay, I'm just being informed that this was just for the application fee. So if it's okay with council, we probably should table it, and then staff can bring in the various things that we've discussed, and then bring it forth in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. and move forward then. Yeah. So what staff would like is just to kind of reiterate what you would like to see, and then they'll take note, and then they'll come back with a different.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I can add just some information, according to the ordinance, I know you're talking about the $50, but according to the ordinance, the permit is valid for a maximum of 3 years, and they would have to go through the process again.
Okay, so before we go any further, I'm going to need to remove the motion in the second.
I'll remove the motion.
Okay, and Councilor, who did the second? Councilor Flores? You'll remove your second?
Second.
You'll remove the second. Okay, good. Okay, so we know that Councilor Betas-Tuvi would like to see the fee increased to $50, okay? And Councilor Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor.
You wanted to add
Just
the component of the...
Yes, I think a safety and community etiquette course. I'm not, why can't we, this is a question for Attorney Vega Brown, but why can't we make the purchase of both increase the permit to $50 and make the purchase of a permit contingent on a etiquette and safety course? That seems to me to be germane to the ordinance or to the discussion here today.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The title for the resolution is a resolution establishing a permit application fee for utility terrain task vehicles in the city of Las Cruces and to amend the adopted fiscal year budget. If we're going to add anything additional, we would have to change the title and repost it.
Thank you, Attorney Vega Brown. Okay, I just wanted some clarification on that. But yes, an etiquette and safety course is what I would suggest that we include as part of the permit acquisition. And I think we can, again, do that through a third-party vendor that would produce a certificate, either digital that you could save on your phone, show it to a permitting agency. Like I said, you have to do it for a whole bunch of other different things. State agencies have third-party vendors that they work with for this kind of stuff. And so I'm actually sure there's probably existing UTV etiquette courses already online somewhere, because we're not the first community that has probably faced this issue. And so I think we would be good to do a little bit of research on what's out there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bencomo, anything additional? No? Okay. Councilor Sorg, did you want to include anything? The map, the area, the PSAs that show where you can ride and where you can't ride?
Yeah. Are we talking about local streets versus arterials or something like that?
Well, earlier, Councilor Vasquez said there are certain areas where the UTVs like to ride, right? And then there's areas that they shouldn't be riding, but I would prefer them not riding on city streets. I mean, I think they need to be out. The whole purpose was where they were driving, they would drive their vehicle, their truck, or, haul the trailer, and then they'd go riding, and then they'd come back and something would be wrong, their vehicle could be vandalized. And so those areas that they were driving their truck to take the UTV to, that's the area we should, if it is allowable to ride the UTV, that's what we should be able to do it like a little map and do with our PSAs, public service announcements, that this is where you can ride and where you shouldn't be riding. And if you're riding in the areas you should be riding, if council supports giving an increase to the budget to hire more police service aides so that the department can monitor those weekends, especially in your district, because I know we get the most, or you get the most. And then I think, I don't know who gets second, but you get the most. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I seem to, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what others are getting.
So,
but, yeah, areas would be okay. I just don't know how that would look. But sure, I'd be glad to have certain areas restricted.
It would look like the university when they send us the little map saying you can park here, but you can't park here.
I know, for parking. That's a little easier, I think. But, I think our staff can figure that out. And if they have a question, they can ask.
They may want to ask Councilor Vasquez because he knows it like the back of his hand. So it's good. And I trust him. I know him. I know he knows it very well.
Okay, I'm fine. Do you want a motion to table this now?
Well, no, not yet. We're still going around here. And what about the catalytic converter, or is that going to be Mayor Pro Tem?
my understanding, a catalytic converter is there just for pollution. It's not necessarily a noise-reducing device, although it could. The muffler is really the one that we're talking about here. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Okay.
You've just allowed a few more extra, which is fine. I agree with you.
Okay.
But I just wanted to reiterate the catalytic converter. But we're good.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
we've got someone who's very familiar with catalytic converters from California.
Yes.
Who happens to be next. Councilor Flores.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Councilor Flores, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, no, I just want to correct, I'm from El Paso, born in
Okay.
El Paso.
All right.
Ciudad Juarez.
Okay. I thought for some reason you lived in California.
I did live there,
for a
but I'm
number
not
of
from
years.
there. I'm from heaven,
Well, okay,
and I
not-
landed in El Paso.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to see additional public safety officers, is what you're calling them? Yes, assistants, PSAs? Yes, that's what I would like to see. I think that would be very helpful to our LCPD, and I like the idea, Mayor, about the catalytic converter. I think those are all very important things to include in this and the map, especially.
Okay. DC Brock, how many PSAs did you need? 2, 4?
20?
Well, okay, Ifo, if you guys can figure that out. I don't think he really means it, probably 4. I don't know.
6 would be great,
6?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you want them there in the evening, late at night, so. All right. Okay, so now we need a motion to table.
Mr. Mayor, I move to table this resolution.
I'll second.
A motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Beta Stuvey to table. Christine? To date specific, table to what date? 1 month from now?
That would be, yeah, a month from now would be good.
Mayor, it needs to be indefinitely because we need to change the title of the...
Indefinitely? Okay, table it indefinitely then.
Has to be indefinitely?
We need to change the title of the resolution, so we need to redo it.
Oh, okay, if that's the way you have to do it, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's okay, Councilor Beta Stuvey, the second? Okay.
Let's see.
All right, then, Christine?
This is on the motion to table Resolution 22-012 indefinitely. Councilor Beta Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondeta?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate the information. And now we go to item 8.2, Council Bill 22-003, ordinance number 2981.
Yes. I'll move to approve.
Second?
Motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Beta Stuvey. And Mr. Andy Hume will be discussing.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. My name is Andy Hume, and I have the privilege of serving as administrator for Las Cruces International Airport. Good to see everybody this afternoon. The item before you is to repeal and replace the Chapter 7.5 in the Las Cruces Municipal Code, which is the aviation chapter. And I'll just go through a very brief background and talk about some of the highlights of this revised ordinance. The key goal of the ordinance is really what we've been trying to do all along with the airport, which is enhance the value of wanting to be there, wanting to be part of the airport community, and also increasing the activity. And we're doing this through what we're trying to achieve is equitable regulation. As probably everybody here knows, the aviation industry is a highly regulated industry, and there are certain regulations that we need to follow also as a city who is the sponsor and the owner of the airport. But we want to do this in an equitable way, a way that makes a lot of sense, and a way that we can still use these regulations to make business flourish, and that's something that we're really looking to achieve here. So I'm not going to go through the entire process, but this was a very thorough review. We have had review by the Airport Advisory Board, by legal staff as well, and so we're very confident in the product that we're bringing before you today. I just want to hit a couple of the highlights. There were some items that we noticed very early on in the current, what I'll call the current ordinance, the one that's still in effect today. For instance, flow, usability, redundancy. The current ordinance kind of jumps around a little bit, and it's hard to tell really what applies to everybody, and then what applies solely to our commercial enterprises on the airport. So we reorganized the ordinance into a general section that applies to the ordinance itself, a section on rules and regulations which apply to everybody, and then the third section is specific to our commercial enterprises. So hopefully that improves the flow of the entire document. Also, we're very interested in removing redundancy. For instance, there are two different sections in the current code. Some of the terms don't match one another, and some of the definitions don't match. So we consolidated all of that into one glossary of terms. So just to give you an example. The other thing that we try to do really is remove rules and regulations that were kind of barriers to entry from a business perspective. So we wanted to make sure that things were as simple and as clear as possible. Again, we have things that we need to abide by from the FAA and from other sources, but it was very important for us to try and make our ordinance as clear as possible. Also, we wanted to reference existing codes, for instance, the building code, the electrical code. We don't want to duplicate those because those codes change on a regular basis, and it doesn't make sense to change our code if we simply reference the current code. And then the last item I wanted to mention is just removing sections that were inappropriate, trying to streamline the code. For instance, we had our fueling operations in the ordinance. Really didn't make sense. Those are operational aspects. We now have a new fueling guideline document for everyone to follow. So we don't need those in the ordinance anymore. Just simplifying things, making things much more clear and understandable and easier to use. So with that, Mr. Chair, the council options are before you, and I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Questions? Councilor Flores, and you serve on that Airport
Yes.
Advisory Board? Yes.
Yes, I do. Well, I don't serve on the advisory board. I'm the city council liaison.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Andy, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Andy, for your presentation. When was the last time this was revised?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, not since 2003.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Members of the public? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a comment. I'd just like to comment on Mr. Hume. Since he's been the airport administrator, I'm so pleased how well the airport has been operating. I just want to send kudos out to him, what the great job he's doing. I'm very pleased, I feel comfortable that our airport is being run very, very well. So that's just all.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Andy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Ordinance 2981. Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, now we're going to go to board appointments. I believe so. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, board appointments. And let's see here. To the City Art Board, I'm going to need a motion a second. First one is the Melanie Gray Brown.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Vasquez, and was that Councilor Bencomo second? Who second? You second? Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem second. Christine.
This is on the motion to appoint Melanie Gray Brown to the City Art Board. Councilor Bettis-Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, another one is Abby Howard. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Flores and second by Councilor Bencomo. Christine?
This is on the motion to appoint Abby Howard to the City Art Board. Councilor Bettis-Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. And to the Veterans Advisory Board, John Poland. Motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Flores, second by Councilor Bencomo. Christine?
This is on the motion to appoint John Poland to the Veterans Advisory Board. Councilor Bettis-Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, now we go to the notice of proposed ordinances. There'll be no public discussion. Council may ask staff for clarification on the proposed ordinance. Excuse me, 10.1, Council Bill number 22-005, ordinance number 2983.
Bring it forward.
Okay, bring it forward. Number 10.2, Council Bill number 22-006, ordinance number 2984.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I have a
Councilor.
request
Okay.
of staff. When this ordinance comes up to the council to address, I'd like to have examples of what plastic bags are being dealt with in this ordinance. So, a show and tell type of thing, maybe, call it demonstration, so on, so that we're all clear exactly what kind of plastic bags and what kind of plastic we're talking about and so forth. That's just a simple request, that's all. Otherwise, bring it forward.
Okay. And remind me, I was at an event this weekend, and this healthcare company that replaced Molina said that they'd be willing to partner with a few others and buy in bulk a lot of those grocery bags, canvas bags. And
Reusable? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're reusable. Right. Okay, so bring that forward. Okay, next we go to council board reports and comment. And I just have one. So I noticed, excuse me, so, I was out of town for my anniversary, so that's why I wasn't here last Monday, but I noticed that you all didn't pass the thing for the shade for the downtown. So I can still recall when we saw those drawings, I think Councilor Sorg will agree, that they had proposed these big trees that would provide a lot of shade. And then when they brought in the trees, they were small seedlings that were probably going to take 10 years to get to give us any shade. So, I don't know if you've been keeping track of the heat wave out west, but I was wondering what council thought about having a tree canopy, not necessarily downtown, I mean just around the city. And I believe it's one of the recommendations in our climate action plan to have a tree canopy. And so I was wondering, I know the city at one time had an arborist. Do we still have one of those? Do we still? And I wonder if Parks and Rec can work with the arborist to see what other cities are doing. And I can also, I've been thinking of having one of my volunteer policy analysts looking at it as well. So maybe if that's okay with council, we can take a look at it. And I know Lucis Barrow in the past has agreed, he always told me, he says, Ken, if you ever want a bunch of trees, I'll donate them. So that might be also a possibility there. But I don't know where. I know, I think Councilor Vasquez early in his term talked about having something similar, but I don't know if it was a corridor for trees. But if you think about it, I mean, you take temperature as hot as it can be, but you take it under a shade, it's cool. Yeah, oh, easy, 5 to 10. So, it's just going to, unfortunately, maybe get a little bit hotter as time goes on, and so why not be a little proactive and look at some tree corridors, especially if we can get trees reduced cost or even free. Is that okay? All right. That's all I have. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Had a busy week last week. One of the things that I'd like an update on is the Alameda Avenue Boulevard? Alameda Boulevard. We had talked at one time, Councilor Sorg is moving or reducing the lanes from 4 to 2 lanes and the speed as well. I put together, or one of my constituents, frankly, put a great resolution that I had forwarded on to you to address at the Sustainability Policy Review Committee. So I'd like to have an update on that. I've had several people, and one in particular, the owners of Bite of Belgium, Mayor. I had a meeting with them on Friday, and they're asking about a reduction of speed. They think the moving from 4 to 2 lanes would be very appropriate for that area because of just how just the various speeders, really, they're seeing such an increase, and what they're trying to do there, and having, frankly, more outdoor seating, and they're extending the speed as it stands now is just not going to be conducive to people being safe eating out in that area. So I told them that I would be talking to you about it today and wanted to bring that up. Also, special thanks to Mr. Hernandez for attending public comment. I did meet him on Saturday at 649 East May. It is part of the historic district. There's a few things that are happening in that area, and more specifically, some either miscommunication or lack of communication with community development and others related to the property. I think they're building a garage in the area. It's pretty close to their property line. And in that street, people are not following the rules, the zoning for the historic district. There's a 5-foot wall when it calls for a much lower wall adjacent to their property. And so I think that, Mayor, when we go out and try to entice or build people, especially when we want to talk about affordable housing, a lot of the issues that we do have and why people are a little leery about it is because codes violations and the perception that codes isn't doing anything. And so I was really happy to hear that we would be increasing our police aides to 6 if we could. I think they would be very helpful in this whole spectrum of services that our Las Cruces Police Department offers. And I think that people would be more amenable to some of these other things like adding housing to their area and such, if we could get a hold of just ensuring that people are aware of the different zoning, the requirements that we all have, that we have to follow, frankly. It sounds like Codes is doing some, providing some education in all of our areas. I think more specifically in the 88001 area, I talked to a constituent that felt that maybe they were being, she didn't use the word harassed, but felt like, are you providing education in the Sonoma Ranch area as well? Kind of, feeling like because we're in a poorer part of town, that they felt that the things that were being addressed at that point was almost kind of an overkill, if you will. Mayor, we met with yourself and others related to the Behavioral Health District. Thanks to Sergio and to our attorney, Jennifer Vega Brown, for helping put the, I don't know, what are you calling it, Jennifer? Commitment? No. Anyway, it was not an MOU, but we're working towards I'm sorry? Cooperative agreement. Thank you, Jennifer. A cooperative agreement that's been developed and shared with our mayors in relation to the Behavioral Health District. There was a few additions, some that mayor suggested and recommended, and I think, we're getting closer to hopefully starting that behavioral health district. Again, there's a lot of commitment about addressing behavioral health in our county, and so I just wanted to update you all on that. And Mayor had a very good idea about bringing, sharing the cooperative agreement with our, not our Attorney General, but our auditor, our state auditor, Brian Colon, just to make sure that we were following everything like we needed to in regards to working with our local behavioral health collaborative and what they're charged to do, and that is to basically provide data and priorities related to behavioral health. So we'll be doing that. Thank you, Sergio. I see him in the audience. Him and I have been working on, we've been correcting a lot of, just small errors and such, so that we'll be presenting that to Brian Colon, and then we'll start providing different updates to the different municipalities related to the behavioral health and the local collaborative, and what priorities the groups have set forward to work in our community. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I think that's all, Mayor. Oh, and I had we had our the three-part series. Special thanks to Jamie Rickman out in the audience for helping put that together. We had about 34 individuals that participated in the public safety conversation, and special thanks to our panelists and Chief Dominguez out there, and DC Brock and DC Daines were there as well. I was a bit disappointed, Mayor. I think the narrative and the rhetoric out there about mental health was very disappointing, and a lot of people misunderstanding that people don't take personal responsibility. All of you that are aware that if you ever have attended a therapeutic session, that's sort of the first thing you're doing, is taking personal responsibility. And I think people are misunderstanding, the importance of having good mental health, and what we need to do as a city to ensure that people have access to good quality care. And so, although disappointing, I'm going to keep at it, and our next conversation will be August 10th at the Home Builders Association. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. You raised a point about, a point I'd like to make based on your comment regarding trees in the plaza, and that would probably be a good thing. But there are trees there, and I believe they're sycamores, and they're just these skinny little things. Well, they get this big. I know, because I have one at my house. And sycamores are it's like one of the biggest trees in the world. And I don't know, maybe Mr. Z, Jimmy can look at that, our arborist, the city can revisit that insofar as why those decisions were made back then as to planting the trees there, because they grow extraordinarily tall. I mean, they're huge, and my tree covers about 4 homes on my block in terms of, the umbrella so that's a point I want to bring up. And we did receive a letter from Greg Smith about discussing the future of a shade structure in the plaza, and that discussion be consistent with agreements made with the downtown, different agreements in different organizations or civic entities that work closely with the city. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I can tell you why the trees are so small. This is what happens when you contract out with a vendor and you tell them this is what we're going to pay and this is the price. And so they'll, like anything else, they'll meet the spirit of what the letter says, but not what our thinking was, because all of our renditions had nice trees on it, and they probably figured, well, the contract just says trees, didn't say how big, didn't say how tall, how anything. See, so if the city had done it, we would have put in larger trees, but because we contracted that portion out of the plaza, including the trees, they just met the letter of the agreement, but not necessarily what we were thinking.
Well, maybe it said large trees, and the vendor said, you want large trees? Here they are.
Well, if I remember correctly, they overspent by $200,000 at the minimum and had us, we were kind enough to pay it still. So.
I think right now, I mean, you'd have to revisit, maybe it's a different kind of sycamore than the one I have, but in my home, my house in California,
You mean El Paso?
No, not El Paso. No, I was born there. I did grow up in California. You're absolutely correct about that. Went to university there and everything. They'd have to look at those trees to see, if they can plant them somewhere else. And I think they're still small enough for them to be dug up and to replace them with trees that aren't going to be humongous. And again, I hope Mr. Jimmy takes a look at that. And then I think have the input of Lisa LaRock, who knows all about trees and how much cooler a street can be when you have them. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Councilor Sword.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm glad you brought up the tree issue. It's one of my specialties too.
Birds and trees.
Yes, they go together. I was happening to last Wednesday at the market, the farmer's market on the plaza, talking to one of the vendors there, and we were talking about the shade structure on the plaza, and he actually brought the idea up of having a good size tree that would shade the plaza, especially on the west side. As the sun goes down on the west side, this would shadow the whole plaza, or shadow it much better. And so I said, yeah, I think that's what we need. So I'm with you there, Mr. Mayor, on getting a better tree there. I also have confidence in Jimmy Z. I like to call him Jimmy Z. He's a friend of mine. We have done some bird counting in the Christmas bird count together years ago, and I know he's very good at doing the job. I trust that he will find the right tree for our plaza. So also I wanted to mention, I was in Albuquerque this weekend, just Saturday, for the New Mexico Municipal League on mental health in this this meeting that we had. So I would encourage one or more members of the City Council to attend their annual convention coming up at the very end of August and in Albuquerque, and participate in some of these activities that the Municipal League has. With that, I think I'll conclude, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks, Mayor. I also hope you noted on why we tabled not tabled, but decided not to move forward with the shade. And just
I read
cost.
where it was cost, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but I guess every year when I'm addressing some event in the downtown plaza, I tell them, I promise next year we'll have shade, and I've been doing that for 2 years
False
now.
campaign
And so I'm not
promises,
going to have
yeah.
any more events.
Just kidding.
I will not show up at the plaza until we have shade. I'm going to,
Just not
kind of-
$1.3 million worth of shade.
we'll figure it out.
Yes, I believe that we will figure it out. We have a lot of great partners to do that with as well. I don't have too many things. I wanted to just give a quick report back from our housing PRC a couple weeks ago. To be really frank, our partners and friends at the Center on Lyme Poverty came and presented with a pretty grim outlook on the housing situation in New Mexico, but also certainly Las Cruces. I continue to believe that housing insecurity and issues of homelessness are frankly, one of the top 3 challenges facing Las Cruces. And CLP, Center for Lyme Poverty, really provided the data to back that up. And honestly, there's tenants in New Mexico face some of the toughest barriers in the country towards when it comes to tenant rights. And so we'll be looking at, and on top of that, in New Mexico, our municipality, we're very restricted as to how we can support tenants. And so we are going to be discussing in our PRC ways that we can best support tenants, especially those who are facing housing insecurity. And so I'm excited that I have my colleagues here, Councilor Flores and Mayor Pro Tem, who are also very passionate about this on that PRC because, just honestly, it's quite grim, the situation. And, I think we're about to face some pretty serious evictions across the nation and the state. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, and so disappointing that even some of our judges here in Doña Ana County ignored the New Mexico Supreme Court's decision to make it tougher for someone to get evicted during COVID. Some of our judges ignored those orders. So it's quite concerning how badly we treat renters and how little protections they have. So I'm very much looking forward to working with my colleagues and the staff at Housing PRC to bring more attention to that. The last thing I'll say is that last week I was honored to have been nominated by Speaker of the House, Egoff, to sit on the nominating commission for the next 3rd judicial judge, along with Councilor Sorg and a group of really dedicated people here across Doña Ana County. And we sent up 4 names to the governor, and she will ultimately make the decision about who our next 3rd district judges, since Judge Schultz is retiring. And I'm very confident that there is a name in here for sure, that there is a person in this group of people who will serve our community well, and that we did a good job appointing people. The names we sent up were Judge Casey Bruce Fitch and Judge Gian Hetzel Quintero, and attorneys Robert Lara and Amy Bailey. So I was very honored to be part of that conversation. I was able to ask each candidate how they saw their role as judge in calling out racial bias in the criminal justice system. So it was a great opportunity. I certainly hope to do it again anytime there is an opening, even though it was very intense and stressful a little bit. So I just wanted to report back on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. If I may just share a comment with you, and you might be able to, if you see what I'm trying to say, and perhaps you can use your different avenues to advocate for this. So I appreciate how much you do your best to help those that find themselves possibly evicted or can't make the rent. And I know that there's the other side of the token, the landlord who probably also has a mortgage that has to be paid, and if they don't have tenants that pay, then they could possibly lose. But what I'm going to share with you is what I think is an idea that could work. So as you know, the city can't give money, the state can't give money because of the anti-donation clause, but the federal government can. And so much like there are programs for whether it's WIC or SNAP, if there was to be one that's used through HUD that they can qualify for, that can be used to pay, much like the Section 8 housing, that can be used to pay rent to the landlord, pay their rent, then that could be something there that it helps the person who's renting, and also the landlord doesn't care, as long as they get money to pay their mortgage. And by doing so, that could be something that could be maybe looked at, then that could help with, because now you'll have really helping both sides. Because on the other one, one side's being helped, the other one's not being helped. But this one, they could probably look at helping, and it helps both. So just an idea.
If I may, Mayor, certainly I think in the long term, there definitely needs to be something like that in place to support both of those folks in that situation. I will say that right now from the federal government, New Mexico has a significant amount of a pot of money to provide to both renters and homeowners, right, who are behind on their mortgage, potentially because of the renters are behind, whatever the situation. There is a significant amount of money right now to be provided by the state that came from the federal government. However, the regulations are so the requirements are so incredibly difficult. Not that many people have applied. It is very, very difficult to fill out that application and actually get some assistance. The other thing that actually CLP reported was that currently homeowners don't have an incentive to take some of that money because they could turn around and sell their home a lot quickly, and not having a renter in their home in order to be able to sell it more quickly is a lot better for them. There's actually, one of the biggest barriers has been, unfortunately, the landlords who have not been willing to work with the state through this program for people to be able to actually pay their rent. So, but I do think that what you're saying is right. I just also believe that renters should have, significantly more protections as well.
All right, thank you. Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things here for me today. One is thank you for the discussion at the last work session on the zoning regulations and hours of operation around the new recreational cannabis law. I wasn't here, I apologize, to be part of that discussion, but I was here for the town hall a couple of days prior with where we heard from members of the audience that were very interested in starting businesses in particular, and had opinions to share with us about how to give them the best opportunity to be successful. What I saw out in the crowd was a lot of young entrepreneurs, young people of color, which made me really hopeful, right, that this would be a job creation opportunity that would hopefully help perhaps give folks from some of our non-traditional communities, entrepreneurial communities, a chance to start businesses. And so I have reviewed some of the recommendations from staff, including the legal analysis regarding the restriction of the buffer zone or the buffer area. And so look forward to having more discussions about that. But I think in general, I'm just excited for where we're going, and I think staff did a great job. I have to hand it to Assistant City Manager Ikani and his team for really putting together, I think, a great survey to get feedback from, and also to have some recommendations come to council around the regulations. And so I'll just reiterate that on that point. One of the concerns I had was around the outdoor consumption areas in public and crowded places, right, like downtown. I just continue to think that we need to limit that to indoor use in places where there's a lot of folks outside, so places like downtown or, farmers market, that kind of thing. And I believe that's one of the areas where we can regulate in terms of the method of use or the method of consumption, I believe. And then in terms of the buffer area, keeping true with the legal analysis that I think we got, I think, we have to treat these businesses no different than a store that sells alcohol, right? So, there's a gas station on every other corner, there's an Albertsons, there's a Walmart, there's all these places where you can essentially purchase alcohol. And so to treat cannabis differently than alcohol, to me, doesn't seem fair or competitive, but also may not be legal for us to do. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page there as well. An update from the South Central Solid Waste Authority. We have had to rethink and essentially very soon do away our contract with Friedman Recycling, who has been our contractor that handles the city's recycling services for many years. And we have to absorb the recycling program through the South Central Solid Waste Authority. And so Director Peck is in the process of purchasing containers. The city has done a great job at partnering with the authority to help offset some of the routes that the authority now has to fill in, because Friedman Recycling is actually losing drivers and they are not able to complete the duties of their contract to the city. And so it's kind of a funny situation in which the city is now helping Friedman fulfill its contractual obligations to the city by them hiring our drivers, right? Which is just tells you the state of affairs there. But we do help to have a business plan in place, I think at the authority over the next several months that allows us to move into absorbing that recycling capability. But what I've asked Director Peck to do is to really start thinking bigger in terms of what a circular economy could look like around recycling products, so that we can actually bring in businesses or value-added products into facilities or a facility or processing centers where we're not just shipping stuff away and getting pennies on the dollar for it, but that we are encouraging people to use recyclables in a way that perhaps helps manufacture products or value-added things that we can use to create small businesses. So that's kind of exciting, and I see that as an opportunity for the city. Although certainly it's hard to run any utility, I just think it's the right thing to do. Two quick updates here. One is to follow up on our meeting with the Boys and Girls Club. I just want to let council know that I think we had a very productive meeting between mayor and the city staff. The Boys and Girls Club is trying to find a new home for their location off of Court, I believe, that has just, I think it's from the 1920s, their existing facility. And so it has seen better times, and they're looking for a new place to build out in the next 3 to 4 years after an intensive kind of capital fundraising campaign. And we looked at several sites that they proposed, including the old transit center in the Hadley Sports Complex, which Ms. Ashley Chavarria thought it would be a wonderful idea to be embedded within the existing Parks and Rec facilities there in the future. And so that's a consideration that I think I want to put out there for the council when it comes down to essentially offering perhaps a lease on city land to the Boys and Girls Club to be able to build a new facility. So I think those conversations continue to move forward. And I think that's it. But just one more quick comment on the UTVs. I think we have, we live in an urban setting, but we also have very much of a rural community. And so we have the county, right, and the outskirts of the county. And so I met a gentleman 2 weeks ago who just opened a UTV repair business on Highway 70. And he said he had added 6 employees in a week because his business was off the rockers. I mean, they were fixing stuff, they were adding on parts, they're doing all this kind of stuff. And so you can't even, I think during the pandemic, you couldn't even go to the store and buy one. You had to order one and take you 6 months to get here. That's how much, that's how in demand these vehicles were. And so I'm happy that we were able maybe to strike a balance, hopefully, and continue to monitor the situation because, again, even though we're very urban, these vehicles are used in rural places. That's economic development, it's part of the outdoor recreation. And trust me, it frustrates me to no end whenever people don't follow the rules on those things because it causes a lot more issues that are not easy to fix, like the environmental degradation in the Chihuahuan Desert. So, but I'm happy with having this ordinance come back to City Council. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Does your friend know how to install catalytic converters?
I think you're being sponsored by a catalytic converter company.
I have no stock in catalytic converters.
My mom calls them Cadillac converters.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Councilor Bates-Stewey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for taking a moment to pause to remember Mr. Robert Hartwig. About a week and a half ago, he presented at our Oversight Committee his knowledge within the IT department and security systems were extraordinary, and I know he will be deeply missed by this community. On August 17th, I'll be doing a low-key coffee with the counselor at Tony Gomez Park, and I'll be near our community gardens, just as a way to expand conversations between individuals and kind of get back into the swing of things. Everything's been online, and so we'll be outside, and hopefully we'll see some residents of District 2 there. This last Friday, I also participated in a trash cleanup along El Paseo and Farney, and I have to say, once again, plastics were one of our biggest trash items that we had along the ditch bank, and single-use styrofoam as well. So lots of different things that were brought in by the storm, lots of really, really wet and soggy trash, but we had 3 carfuls by individuals. So thank you to all the community members that go out. It's part of a group. They go out every week in different parts of our community, and every week they have just truckloads. So I thank them for their service as well. Mayor, as you were talking about shade structures, I happened to be reminded, I recently went to the outdoor shopping mall in El Paso for back to school. But what they did have there, since it's an outdoor center, all the chairs had little pop-up shades on top of them. And so I'm not sure if that's a way to do more of a temporary item to increase shade at the plaza, but all of the seating areas had shade attached to it. And so it might be a way to help expand without interfering with the overhead issues that the other shade structures had. And kind of as a final note, I know that we've been hearing a lot of different comments regarding vaccines, vaccinations, and health. And so just as a quick reminder for the public that might be listening at home, there's a lot of online research. And as you're going through, I think there's some important items to make sure that you're gathering true facts and not misinformation. And so first, I would suggest making sure that everything that you're looking at, go to a third-party fact-checking site and just do a little bit of that extra research. Make sure that you're looking at an article and going beyond just a headline, really reading into it and seeing if there's any scientific links and research that are being posed, or if it's just vague kind of questions. Science says, studies show, the sentences are there. You know, we're hearing a lot of those comments, and I think it's important to go that extra step and make sure that there's facts based on what they're saying. As we know, this is a very evolving virus, and recommendations are changing often. And so make sure that we're noting the dates of any of the information that you're reading to make sure that it's current. Oftentimes, there can be real excitement over a new study, and it's taken as proof right away. Make sure that those studies have been cited, and then we can go back and look again, is it still current or has it been red flagged? The harder part, maybe, is to make sure that we're scanning for our own biases, any deception, word choices, and images. With stories, oftentimes they try to use scientific language to make sure that it's fact, and use tactics that promote fear, urgency, or have questionable COVID-19 prevention strategies or treatments. We need to look to see if the information is biased or if it used politicized phrases, especially if the virus is not being called by its proper scientific name. And when presented with photos, charts, videos, do they seem questionable or sensationalized? And make sure to check the credentials of the person that is making these statements. Remember, when in doubt, to bring your concerns to your licensed primary care provider and ask all those questions. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Before I get to EFO, you reminded me of something that I probably should share with. I've been asked a few times if I foresee any emergency proclamations on the horizon, and I said not at this point. But I will tell you that one of the things that the difference, what we experienced last year, 2020, versus this year, 2021, is the fact that, to my knowledge, and I haven't checked with the doctor lately, that the emergency rooms are not being overfilled. That was the big concern, because what I felt was, what if someone had a heart attack or someone that needed to have surgery and there was no beds available? I don't think that's the case right now. And so with that being, that is really my litmus test, so to speak. I keep track with the different doctors at the different hospitals, and if they're good, then we're okay. If they get to the point where they feel that it's getting to the point where they're getting a little concerned, then that's, I think, where we need to kind of step in. But as of now, I don't believe so. And we've still been pretty fortunate. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean we don't, that means that we still need to stay vigilant. And I wonder if we could go ahead and ask, with your consensus, city staff to start putting out more PSAs on the, urging, if we can get to 75%, we're at what, 65%, ACM Enriquez? In that
68.
68. If we can get to 75, I think we'll be pretty good shape, like El Paso. If we can do a few more PSAs, I know some of you have done some videos to put out, and if we can also get some trusted people that maybe perhaps the residents believe. One thing that I have found when I asked a few, because really there are some educated young men and women, and I said, so what is your hesitancy? And I was amazed by their response is the reason why they don't believe the vaccine works or is because it was developed too fast. And I said, well, you know what? They've been working on this for quite a while. It's just that when Mr. Trump went to warp speed, I mean, he basically said, hey, you got to have to pick up the pace here. We need to get this thing done. But prior to that, they've been working on it for, to my understanding, 3 or 4 years. They knew that something like this was going to happen, and so the scientists were already there. And I wonder if we approach it a different way to let the public know, because that has been the response by a few people, why they don't want to get it, because they don't believe that it could be developed that quick. How can you develop a cure that fast? Well, and when I explained to them that it had been worked and had been in the works for a number of years, they did pause a little bit and okay. But so, Councilor Sorg, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, let me add to that. This vaccine, all 3 of them, starting in the beginning of this year, has been administered to almost 200,000 people. If there was something really seriously wrong with it for 200,000 people, we'd know it by now. And so that's convincing enough for me. This is why I think there's just no reason not to be vaccinated. No, none at all. Unless somebody has a medical condition. Then you better get it checked out by a doctor that tells you can't be vaccinated for anything, really.
Thank you. Councilor Bates-Stuve, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think you touched upon a great point, which is the difference between experimental and emergency use authorization. And what's happening with the vaccine is a lot of those administrative barriers and financial barriers that often happen when producing new vaccines were basically taken away. We had people that wanted to be in trials. We had funding, and so that helped create a faster process with that. But the science portion remains the same. They still need to make sure that it's safe for people. There's still those tests, and those all go through the same process. All the other barriers are taken away, though, and that's why we're able to have something so fast, and that's because we had such an urgency for this. I would like to point out that Jamie Rickman and her team produced a vaccine myth paper, and I'm sure she's nodding her head, so I'm sure they can send that out, dispelling myths. With that, perhaps we can go that next level and send out, a video or however other medium it needs to go for individuals with and target those hesitant groups. And you do have a lot of people that, for one reason or another, are just hesitant on it. I think seeing the Delta variant come into play, and it's hitting some communities quite hard, and it does prove, though, in these areas, that vaccine has been seen to be very effective. I know there was a research article that came out that talked about an outbreak of vaccinated individuals in, I believe it's Massachusetts. I got to look at that. But what was shown in the full reading of the article is that even though they had this outbreak, those that were hospitalized and those that, or the death rates, were much different than for those that were vaccinated. And the vaccine protected these individuals. Had they not been vaccinated, you would have seen different outcomes for that type of population that got sick. And so it's a good reminder that these do work, and vaccines, it's not going to prevent everything, but what it is designed to do is to make sure to keep you out of the hospital and to prevent death. And that helps those hospital care systems that I'm sure have criteria as well in our area, as we have a lot of other counties that are not doing quite as well as us either in vaccination rates or in the individual cases. So we're kind of in a bubble right now with Doña Ana, but as we've seen before, we take in those patients into our communities when they're sick, and we're going to have to adjust accordingly when that happens. Thank you.
Along those lines, we had a good friend of the family who had a surgery 2 weeks ago for hernia. And when he went in, and he's fully vaccinated, when he went in, they said, you're tested positive for COVID. And he goes, well, I don't feel anything. He didn't have a temperature, he still had his smell, taste, he had his appetite, nothing. And so they did the surgery, let him stay at home, and he's fine. And I mean, I think if he hadn't been vaccinated, I think it would have been really bad for him. And so that's one testament right there. So I thank you for what you're sharing, and I think we need to have some stories, something that people like that are willing to speak about, because I really think that we're so close, and I think that if we can just get to that 75% level, and then of course the children, I was reading a report that it should be within the next 2 months, they should have something for 5 to 11-year-olds. So that's good, yeah. And anyways, thank you for those comments, Councilor Sorg.
Let's be ambitious and go for 80% fully vaccinated.
Okay.
I think it's going to need something like that in order to kick this whole pandemic.
Yeah. Again, I just watched those hospitals. I mean, we don't want to force people. If they want to take it, that's fine. But in a way, it gets to the point where we don't want them to affect those who really need surgery. Yeah, I mean, that could be a matter of life and death if they can't get in there because they have a heart attack or they need to have some other different type of surgery. So that's where I've always kind of monitored things, and I'll continue to do that. And so anyways, I just wanted to share that with those that are watching, those in the public, those that are watching on various medians. Okay, now I'll go to you, Ifo.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the discussion. It kind of segues into information that Assistant City Manager Enriquez sent over for me to present. Since we discontinued the COVID report, it's giving me some information, just FYI. So as of this morning, there's 77% of adults in Doña Ana County are showing as having 1 or more doses of the vaccine. And so by the end of the week, they're looking to be closer to that 80% of at least 1, and then over 70% will be fully vaccinated again by the end of the week. So that's kind of where we're at there. So there's some increasing pressure and consideration that needs to go into vaccine mandates and mask mandates. It seems to be increasing across the country. The federal government and our state government have mask mandates for public employees, either show proof of being fully vaccinated or subject to testing, getting tested weekly. And so our staff is on that. I mean, we're watching and we're kind of seeing where the country's going with this new variant. So just wanted to bring that to your radar, and also with the mask mandates, indoor, not just with the meetings, but requiring indoor masking for those who enter all public buildings if they're not fully vaccinated. So that's something we will probably be discussing. Fortunately for Doña Ana County, with where we are at, pretty hopeful that the numbers stay where they are. But some information from ACM Enriquez, the state is now offering again $100 to get vaccinated, hoping to increase these vaccinations more. You have to register though at goodtimes.vaccinenm.org in order to get that incentive. We're no longer having these vaccinations at the convention center, but there are currently 12 locations in Las Cruces offering these vaccines. Places include NMSU, Healthcare, DACC, Health Department, and local pharmacies. So that's the information for COVID that we've received. Other highlights, just go through, just from our council request list, just pulling out some highlights. The broadband survey, the city will be helping the county with the distribution of the survey. Working on Gomez and Fringer Park master plan process. And then also Young Park Pond, the assessment is ongoing for the new equipment and for the pond to stabilize. This occurs before we can start looking at the pond's other infrastructure. And then the noise ordinance, we're looking at rescheduling that for a work session. We also have a heavy work session next time as well, so trying to manage that so that we can have a appropriate schedule. Status of council requests since January. We've had 14 council meetings, and there have been 131 requests, 67% completed, 17% in progress, and 11% pending. And then 5% are long-term, just requests that just different circumstances with scheduling and funding that are still, that'll be ongoing and something that we continue to address. And then 100% of the requests were acted on. So appreciate Jamie and her team, and Jamie for facilitating that with all our departments. August 9th, work session topics, ARPA funding, energy use in buildings, economic development partnership updates. That's for the 9th work session. And then the 23rd will be a joint work session with P&Z, and then a discussion our city strategic plan implementation and our economic outlook. And then this is from our Parks and Rec, just FYI, Music in the Park, Sunday, August 8th, David and Company, Joshua Lucero, and then a family game night at the Downtown Plaza, Thursday, August 5th. And then from Quality of Life, a library open house on August 19th at 6:30 p.m., provide opportunities for the public to meet staff and take a look at behind the scenes. I'd like to extend an invitation to council and the community to attend if possible. And then from the museums, from the ground up exhibit at the Museum of Art will open this Friday, August 6th. And then Visit Las Cruces, Visit Las Cruces upcoming events, Monuments to Main Street will occur the entire month of September with kickoff celebration on September 10th and 11th, 2021. And I believe that's all we have, Mayor. Thank you.
Ifo, I didn't hear, but did you mention about National Night Out tomorrow?
I didn't.
Yeah, okay, so that's tomorrow, downtown, 6 to 9, I believe. So let your residents know that get a chance to meet all law enforcement, not just Las Cruces, but the Sheriff's Department and state police. FBI gonna be there? Probably not. If they are, they're undercover. Yes, Councilor
Mayor,
Brooks.
I'll be there with our local emergency planning committee. We're going to have an obstacle course for kids to haul a dummy across it. So I'm saying we're going to have the best booth.
So that's why you need to be dressed up like that then, huh? Is that, I'm the dummy? I'm just kidding.
Spent all weekend filling bags, so.
Yeah, Okay, I think that pretty much is it. If there's nothing further, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Vasquez, second by Councilor Bencomo, that we adjourn. Christine?
This is on the motion to adjourn the regular meeting. Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondeta?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. It's 3:46 PM. All right, thank you very much.